Hey, it's Matt. And recently while browsing the PlayStation Store, I saw that the Cars 3 movie game was on sale for $4. I have a friend that was a massive Cars fan growing up, and a few years ago when he got his PS4, he told me he was going to platinum this game. Fast forward to today, and he has yet to get that Cars 3 platinum.
This is where I put a trophy. If I had one!
So I thought, for $4, what better game to platinum than Cars 3 Driven to Win? So I can beat my friend to a platinum he has a 3-year head start on. So the game starts off with us taking a drive with the characters from the movie, but something seems a little off.
I really felt like I was right there racing with Doc.
Yeah, that's not Owen Wilson. In fact, almost none of the movie voice actors play their characters in the game. The only characters played by the same voice actor are Junior Moon, who's played by Junior Johnson, the real-life driver he's based on, and Darryl Waltrip serving as the game's announcer. It's kind of cool that they got some of the real actors for the game, but it's a bit unfortunate they couldn't get everyone. But it probably costs a fortune to get the real voice actors for the game.
Cost me at least
Why?
$2,000, five grand.
Regardless, we're off into the tutorial section of the game, learning how to drift, jump, and drive, followed by a quick short track race. Now that that's done, we get some dialogue from Not Owen Wilson, and are invited onto Not Batman's TV show so we can talk about feel, and experience. We get challenged to a race by Jackson Storm, but he's kind enough to let us get ready before it. We're introduced to the Hall of Fame progress bar, which is going to be where most of our platinum grind is focused. We're given 136 skill checks that we have to complete as one of the 24 trophies we need for this platinum. The good thing is that most of the other trophies can be completed as we make progress on this one. Back to the skill checks, most are achieved by doing something like using a rocket in a race, driving a lap backwards, or completing certain types of events. Some are super specific, but overall they're not too bad. To start off, I played a few races to figure out how the game plays, getting a few skill checks along the way. Another trophy we need is to get a star in every event of the game. There are 5 event types: race, battle race, stunt showcase, takedown, and best lap challenges, along with 21 different tracks in the game. Altogether, that's 104 races I need to get a top 3 in. The good thing is that difficulty doesn't affect the trophies, so you can just set it to easy and run the entire race in first with everyone 20 seconds behind you like you're Max Verstappen. After a few races, I decided to give the cup races a try, which are just groups of 3 events where you earn points from each race, and the cup winner is whoever has the most points at the end. In my second race, I finally got my first trophy for doing 3 perfect starts, which you get from mashing the gas during the countdown before the race begins. I got my second trophy later in this race for going in the zone 4 times in a race, which sounds a little sus, but a trophy's a trophy. I finished up the cup in dominant fashion and switched over to the battle races, which is just a Mario Kart knockoff with a Cars theme. In typical Mario Kart knockoff fashion, we've got Rocket that serves as shells, oil spills that are just bananas, and a rocket boost that's a mushroom. Not the most creative, but this is a kids movie tie-in game that I'm playing. I should probably lower my expectations. Regardless, we're up to 3 trophies after we boost 15 times in a race. After some more racing, skill checks, and a switch to the stunt showcase event, we finally complete 50 skill checks and get a trophy for it. These skill checks are pretty easy and are things you do anyway in a race, but eventually we're going to have to really focus in on finishing some of them. But for now, we're just going to get used to the game and see all the modes it has to offer.
Oh la la, oh.
In my first takedown race, which is the last of the main game modes, I get a trophy for completing 6 waves in a single event, followed up by a trophy for using 150 turbo boosts. After some more takedown, I went in the zone 30 times and got a trophy for it. After I finished up the cup, I decided to check out the Thomasville Playground, which is the open world section of the game, with big quotes around open world. It's got nothing on exploring Radiator Springs to the old PS2 Cars game, and it's just a mostly empty area that offers a few copy and paste challenges. But before any challenges, we have to collect 10 of Mac's hats for a trophy, as well as to unlock Mac. I'll come back to complete the challenges, but now our focus switches to completing all the events. This is probably the grindiest trophy of the game, even more so than the skill checks, just because you can have every skill check possible from the racing events, but if you've still got 10 more racing events you haven't finished, you're out of luck, and I hope you enjoy the next 2 hours of racing at each of the remaining tracks. The only good thing is that you can work on some of the trophies and skill checks that naturally take time to complete, like the ones for driving on 2 wheels for 15 minutes, backwards for 15 minutes, or performing 1,000 air tricks. Speaking of air tricks, I got a trophy for doing 70 of them in a single event. After that, it was time to just put my head down and grind out the rest of these events. Along the way, I got the 2-wheel champ trophy and a trophy for side bashing 100 cars. I finally got 30 event stars and a trophy, but we still have a long way to go. After the backwards driving trophy, I spent a couple hours slowly chipping away at the events, while also continuously switching out who I was playing as we have to complete a race with each character for the trophy at the end, so I might as well get most of them out of the way now. I eventually decided to take a break and completed 3 of the 4 challenges that were available to me at the time. For these, you get a quick cutscene before you're thrown into a race against a single character, who you can unlock if you beat them. First up was Miss Fritter, who was probably the most difficult challenge just because all the other AI racers are out to get you. I managed to win the race, and it turns out all I had to do was beat the challenge character, so I didn't have to worry where the other AI racers finished. But I still beat them just to make sure.
What happened? I won.
Up next is Made of the Greater Stunt Showcase, which I completed with 40 seconds still left in the event. Not that hard. Finally was a takedown challenge against Chick, which I finished with 2.5 minutes still left in the clock. After completing all these challenges, I decided to grind out the rest of the best lap challenges. These aren't too difficult to get at least 1 star in, though getting 3 stars on a track is a bit of a challenge. Each track typically has a few shortcuts, so you need to learn where these are if you want to go fast. I finished up each track with at least 1 star, though I'll have to come back for a few skill checks and a trophy I'll talk about later. Also, by this point, I had enough skill checks in order to do the Jackson Storm challenge, which is probably the easiest out of the 4 of them. It was a one-on-one race, and by this point, I'd gotten pretty good at drifting, building up turbos, and being able to do laps pretty quickly, so 1 race later I unlocked Jackson Storm, and all of the master character challenges were completed and characters unlocked. I decided to go back to grinding out the remaining events, and in the progress, I got my first trophy in a while after I completed 6 air tricks and a single jump, ironically in the second to last battle right before I started grinding out the stunt showcases.
Isn't it ironic?
After those stunt showcases, it was on to the takedown events, the final group of events I needed for a trophy. Along the way, I ended up getting a trophy for destroying 1,000 carts, along with what is arguably the hardest trophy in the game, by side bashing 15 carts in a single event. It doesn't sound hard until you try doing it and realize the carts accelerate whenever you get close to them. You have to use 2 or 3 boosts in a row, which means you're spending the entire event collecting boosts, boosting to try and bash carts, rinse and repeat. But once that was done, I just had to finish a few more takedown events and was finally able to get that trophy. And to celebrate, I went and spent 40 minutes doing hot laps until I completed 100 laps and best lap challenges. Now it's back to the playground where I had to complete every challenge. There are only 4 types of challenges, but each one has to be completed 3 times. They aren't too difficult, but get real repetitive real quick.
Find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
I had to earn silver or gold rings in certain events for skill checks, but once that was all done and dusted, the playground was completed. The only thing remaining was to complete all the skill checks, after which the platinum trophy would be all mine. I plugged in a second controller and did all the multiplayer skill checks, which are pretty easy. If players are on different teams, there won't be any AI cars, so you can run the race with one car, then the other, without needing to ask someone you know to play a video game based on a children's movie with you in order to earn a PNG of a trophy that doesn't exist in real life. Once all of the multiplayer skill checks were out of the way, I spent the final 2 hours of the game completing the remaining cups.
You did what in this cup?
I left most of these undone because I figured it'd be more special to get the platinum after winning the Dinoco Cup, instead of getting it after finishing a random race. During this progress, I got the trophy for completing a race with each character at least once, so all that was left to win the Dinoco Cup, and with it, the platinum. As was the case with the previous cups, this one wasn't challenging at all, and once it was all over, Lightning McQueen had won the cup, and with it, the platinum trophy for Cars 3, Driven to Win. Overall, I think the game's alright. I'm sure I'm not the target demographic for this game, and for what it is, it's not too bad. It's nothing more than a Mario Kart ripoff with a car skin on it, but for $4, I was pretty happy with it. Though, that's not the only thing I'm happy with.